As you can clearly see, Corsair sent a new cat bed to us, which we can check out in today's video. So yeah, that's what we'll do today. And with a happily sleeping Chic, I want to welcome you to this new video, which will be about the new Corsair monitor. So apart from the monitor they launched last year, this is the second monitor they have. The one we checked out last year, in my book, was not a great thing, simply because it was, for the pixel density, it was just too big. With 32 inches for WQHD, simply not enough, and like 800 euro price wise, it just didn't make a lot of sense. It had some interesting features like the stand with monitor arm and everything. So there are some features to the Corsair monitors which are definitely interesting, but the previous one in my book just didn't make a lot of sense. It was simply too expensive and the pixel density not good enough. But now things changed, because 32 inches again, but 4K resolution, UHD. And 144 Hz, which is basically almost the same as what I'm using myself personally on my daily rig, except for that I'm using two 27-inch monitors, but apart from that, pretty similar. And that's why I'm pretty happy that they finally made a product which in my eyes should be much better. If I remember correctly, the connectors should be completely identical to the other one. So we have an audio jack, we have dual HDMI display port, we have Type-C, which also supports the DisplayPort mode. We have a USB Type-C next to it, which will be for the connection to your PC, for example, for the control with iCUE. Dual USB 3.0 Type-A, so for example, to connect keyboards or whatever to this, and then the connection for the external PSU. For those who are interested in the power rating of the monitor, it's rated with 19 volt and 7.9 amps, which means it would peak out at about 150 watt. Control is pretty simple. You have a power button on the back and also this like multifunctional joystick, which goes in all directions and can also be used as a button. One of the best, I would call it unusual feature you cannot find on other monitors is the fact that you have this additional screw on top, which allows to mount, for example, a camera. If you're streaming and you have a camera and probably like some adapter arm on top, you can use this for filming yourself, which is a very nice feature. We also still have these plastic clips for cable management. It's a bit sad that Corsair did not improve them because they still have the same issue as last time. So if you just slightly touch them, they open up. So yeah, it's better than having nothing for cable management, but if you will like slightly move your monitor in any direction, all the cables will instantly pop out from the back. That's what I had last time, and it's still exactly the same. The monitor stand itself will be something you still love or hate. That's what I saw in all the other reviews as well. Some people loved it, some people criticized it. From my point of view, it will give the monitor a very nice stand because it's quite heavy, it's very stable, it's a piece of metal, so it will do its thing. It is definitely quite huge. It could be smaller, like you could definitely improve this from like a functional point of view, but from my perspective it's something you subjectively either like or dislike. After connecting the Xeneon over USB Type-C with the included cable with your PC, you can also pick it up in Corsair iCUE, where you can find most of the important settings. On device settings, you can find, for example, OSD settings, transparency. You can change if AMD FreeSync is enabled or disabled, so all kind of like device settings. More important though are the picture settings, especially going to the color profile. Standard profile is quite alright, but you should definitely check out the different ones. Especially when you're working professionally with the monitor, let's say you're doing video editing, photo editing, then like Adobe RGB or sRGB are definitely something you should activate depending on whatever program, whatever use case you have. For gaming, I have to admit that the game profile is great. It is very bright, which is something I personally like a lot because it makes some of the more darker areas in some games where you have bad visibility definitely more visible. So the game mode definitely is something you should check out if you're gaming with the monitor. Apart from that, you have all basic settings like brightness, contrast, color, temperature. You can add an artificial crosshair, let's say at a dot, which is enabled right now. You can disable it right here, set it to green and red, set like a real crosshair if you want to. This could be helpful for some games if, let's say, you're playing in a hardcore mode and it doesn't have a crosshair. This can definitely help. I've been playing around with the 32-inch 4K Xeneon for a long time now, like for several hours, to check out if I like this more than the previous one, and as expected, it is just much better. Just because of the panel they use, because it's 4K UHD, with 144 Hz and 32 inches. Chic stealing the show once again. Anyway, from my perspective, as I said before, it's much better than the WQHD monitor they have. Also, if you look at price performance, this, at least from the pricing we should get in Germany, should cost about 1,100 euro. And now if you check this out with existing products on the market, for example, you could look at the FI32U from Gigabyte, which is about 800 euro here, so it's 300 euro cheaper. And it's also 4K, 144 Hz, but it's lacking some essential features this monitor has to offer. For example, the brightness. The Gigabyte monitor only has 350, versus this one has 600 candela per square meters. So that's definitely a difference. And in my opinion, especially for gaming, the brightness definitely helps. Like 600 is a lot better than 350. You can compare this with two existing monitors. There's an MSI Optics I could find. It's very similar from the setting, but it only has 99% Adobe RGB. And that's the thing. That's also why I think Corsair decided to go for this type of configuration, because it's also kind of an odd monitor setting, odd monitor configuration. I think they're specifically aiming at 100% sRGB and 100% Adobe RGB, because then they can get some, I don't know, like visual creators, like media companies, to buy these monitors for video editing or like photo editing. Because for example, the MSI Optics you can find, which is about 10% cheaper than this one, has basically the same settings, like the same specs, but it only has 99% Adobe RGB and not 100. And if they're buying professional monitors, they will always go for the 100%. So that could be a difference. Then there is a Philips M line, and this one only has like HDR 400 instead of this one has HDR 600. So those are some very tiny differences. You can justify 10% price increase with this one over the others, definitely, if you're going for the last few percent, especially because this is much more bright than the others. I think it's kind of okay looking at the price performance of this monitor. Then again, for gaming, I'm not quite sure. 32 inches 4K is definitely not something for the mass market. That's why I'm not quite sure why Corsair decided to go for this specific panel. Not quite sure. I like it. I like the way it looks, the responsiveness, the colors, like the small bezel, everything. That is absolutely enjoyable from my side, much better than the previous one. So if you want to get this one, if you are this very specific target group, it's definitely a monitor you can get. I don't really see a negative point at this monitor, maybe except for the price, but everything else to me looks pretty solid. All right, quick monitor video. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye-bye.